state, and in that way help in ensuring that there's security in the state, because the relationship between security and development.
Welcome back to the 2023 verdict. We're coming to you live from Channels Television. As you've seen that, yes, he joins us now. He's Vice Marshal Sadique Abubakar. He's the governorship candidate of the APC in People's Democratic Party. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
APC.
Yeah, APC, that's what I said.
Yes.
Sorry, APC in Bauchi State.
Yes, APC
Bauchi State candidate.
Yeah.
You know, having attained the very highest level in your profession, your field, why did you decide to leave it to come into politics?
Thank you so much for having me. I think many people have asked me that question, but I think the answer is very simple. I have been managing internal security crisis, and this crisis we've been managing over the years in the military was generated somewhere. And people tend to focus more on the physical dimension of security rather than the social, political, and economic dimension. And these dimensions are actually managed at the state and local government level, mainly. That's where they generate the issues that finally result in internal security challenges. So what I did after leaving service, and my people were coming to me, they come and be part of the process of resolving those issues, so that those coming behind me will not have the difficulty of, having to manage the internal security crisis that I managed for about 5.5 years as the chief of the air staff. So the decision really is just to see how I can contribute to the development of my state. How can I add value, having been in the Air Force for about 42 years or thereabout, what is it that I can come with, to add value to what is happening in my state? And after looking at the requests and the people that have come to me a number of times, I decided that, look, why don't I go there and contribute? With all the knowledge I have, the experience, over 42 years experience of public service, I think I have a clear understanding of what the issues are, and I should be able to add value to my society. So finally, I took the decision to be part of it.
I always find it interesting that military personnel, or should I say ex-military personnel, always find the democratic, experience quite interesting, because they're always very willing to throw their hat in it. But we always wonder whether they're best suited, especially with their background, to participate in a democracy.
Actually, I think we are. Because if you look at all the courses that military officers undergo, it's not just about fighting war. The National Defense College, for instance, if you look at the curriculum of the National Defense College, it's not just about war. It's not just about war fighting. It's about those issues that generate conflict. And that is where governance comes in. To what extent is, what kind of relationship is there between politics and security? What kind of relationship is there between economics and security?
Indeed. So I know that there's a lot of research that goes on, even within our military institutions. But the way and manner in which the military is structured is such that it doesn't brook arguments. Orders are what they are, orders, but not a democracy. A democracy is such that the best ideas must win. And so I wonder, having served at the very top of, of the Air Force, for instance, where you audition out orders and people just have to follow, I wonder if you're not going to find a democracy quite strange, where you have to argue and let the best ideas contend, or even perhaps be subject to a state house of assembly as the executive arm of government is expected to be subject to, assuming you were to win.
Well, I agree with you that the military as an institution is a regimented institution where you give orders and so on. But like I said, in the course of your career as an officer, you go through so many courses, right from Command and Staff College, and these courses, like I said at the beginning, it's not just about fighting war. It's about understanding the interaction between economics and politics, the interaction between politics and security, and how miscalculation in any of these fields can generate insecurity, which is exactly the situation we currently have in Nigeria. At the lower level, you have the state and the local governments. If the states, in my opinion, if the states and the local governments are functioning properly, you will have less internal security challenges. Why? Because there's a relationship between security and development. As a matter of fact, security and development are two sides of the same coin. So I think, yes, the regimentation is there, but I mean, going back to the political arena, for me, is very simple because I have interacted with people. I have gone through a course in the University of Maiduguri. I read political science. And I read strategic studies at University of Ibadan. So these are issues, like I said, it's just a matter of understanding that, look, you are no more in a regimented system. You are in a system where you have to accommodate a plurality of ideas. You know, what are the other people talking about? There are a few things that are not really things I expected when I joined the, like having a meeting, you know, you'll want to see where the agenda of the meeting, for instance, which is the way we are structured in our own system. But by and large, I think ordinarily, honestly, there isn't much difference.
I hope you don't find it frustrating. I mean, after...
No, I will not.
I hope you wouldn't find it... I mean, because I know military people are used to getting things done in a certain way.
I know.
But after a while, you know, if you have to always get a consensus before decisions can be taken or action can be taken, it is.
Slow. Yeah, but I think the idea is to address the issues and the fundamental issues of society: education, health care delivery, you know, empowerment of youths and women. These are the fundamental issues. And if you are really so concerned about that, you should be able to be patient and accommodate the ideas of other people and try to see how you can come up with something.
But, pardon me, as it is now, I mean, you're trying to occupy that top seat in Bauchi State. And at the center, your party is the ruling party. And now, with the way things have gone with education, security, economy, there are people who think that, no, they're not sure. They don't think that the APC should be allowed at whatever level in the next 4 years so that another party can try. How easy or difficult do you think it's going to be for you in Bauchi?
I think for us in Bauchi, the people in Bauchi are very politically active. They understand all the issues. They understand that they don't have an education system that is functional. They understand that they have one of the highest figures of out-of-school children, 1,400,000 out-of-school children. They understand that about 1,549 women are dying for every 100,000 births. They understand that the attendance, net attendance in schools in Bauchi is only 29.9%, while the national average is 67%. So these are the issues that are really occupying the minds of people in Bauchi. I remember when I went to school way back in the 70s, everything was there. You don't have to be bothered that you are from this family or your parents can afford it. We were actually given even pocket money. But the structure that accommodated us that time has collapsed, unfortunately. And that is why you have the highest figures of out-of-school children in Bauchi State. You are talking of 1.4 million.
But are you blaming the current government because they say his predecessor was a member of your party?
Well, well, looking at what is on ground, I have seen that. For instance, I have engaged the current governor. I said, look, when you came, you said you had 50 doctors. How many have you trained in the last 3 years? You know, in the Air Force, I brought in about 153 medical personnel when I started expanding the medical facilities. You cannot have facilities when you don't have people that are trained to operate those facilities. It's not an issue of saying, you know, it was an APC government that was there. What have you done in the last 3 years? That's the question. How have you addressed the issue of out-of-school children? 1.4 million. In the next 10 years, where will this 1.4 million be? Probably some of them will be carrying AK-47. I hope not.
How do you plan to address that?
It's going back to the fundamentals. Look at the way, you know, I had a friend that was given the appointment of Commissioner of Education in Gombe State. And he told me that, look, when I go there, only about 0.998% were having more than 5 credits. So I said, what did you do? I said, look, I simply referred back to the way we were in secondary school. Perhaps, you know, engage students, have societies, a very active, you know. So the idea is getting the right infrastructure. You cannot have education if you don't have classrooms. You cannot have education when you have children learning under trees. You cannot have education when you have children in classrooms, but they are all writing on the floor. These are the fundamental issues. You cannot have children when you have a school where the headmaster is the English teacher, is the maths teacher, is as well the headmaster. I mean, these are things that are difficult to really understand, how you can have a society where people are leaders and they're not really interested. Nobody cares. So what the situation is right now is you have only a small percentage of students that are going to school, those that their parents can afford to send them to private school. But the bulk majority of people have been alienated from the educational sector. They don't have any hope. They can't live their dreams. And this will generate a much bigger problem in years to come. And that is what I don't want.
Well, I was hoping that we'll send this conversation to Lagos so that he'll also come into the conversation as well.
Well, thank you, Markwet. The first question that I'd like to ask you, sir, is concerning you know, some of the issues that you have raised. You know, the experience that a number of people have had over time is that many people who vie for the office of governor of a state do not fully understand what it takes. And consequently, when they get there, it's only then that they begin to understand, okay, these are the issues that we are dealing with. For instance, I'm looking at the multidimensional poverty figures in Bauchi State. I know you must be as concerned as well. But before we go to that specific, do you think you have a full understanding of what you are vying for, not just the office, but the responsibilities that office that you're going to occupy if you become governor of Bauchi State would entail, the economic challenges that the people have, the social life that is not the way one would want it to be, the general lifestyle of the people in the state. Do you think you have a full understanding of what the responsibilities of that office are as at this moment?
Well, I'm not sure I heard the question because the audio wasn't that clear, but catching from what you just said at the end of your remarks is whether I am sure I understand what the responsibilities of that office entails. I can tell you that, yes, I do. It's all about leadership, essentially, and to be responsive to the needs of our people. And the first thing to do in that regard is to understand what the needs are. It is only when you understand what these needs are that you can begin to see how you can work with others, to see how you can provide the required leadership, a leadership that will address the fundamentals, a leadership that will provide an enabling environment where the people will have a sense of ownership of the state, where people will understand that governance is about human beings. It's not just about the government house and few individuals around there. So I think with my experience in the public service, having been in the system for about 42 years or thereabout, I have a clear understanding of what is required in Bauchi State to really address those problems of unemployment, problems where people that are employed are not paid salary, problems of where people have been in the system for 35 years or more, and they are leaving home without anything. These are the fundamental issues that are really bothering our people. And I think with the experience I have gathered in the Air Force, I am properly positioned to really work with others to see how we can address these problems.
Bauchi State is a state in the northern part of Nigeria. And one of the questions that naturally would come is the level of multidimensional poverty coming from the figures released by the NBS. And Bauchi State is no mean one. I mean, 30-something, more than 34% of the people in the state, as you have rightly noted earlier, are below the poverty line, multi-dimensional poverty, the figures say. What infrastructure would you say are missing, both socially and hard or physical infrastructure? What are those infrastructure that are missing until now, over the years, that has brought the people so low into poverty, and what are the things that you would do within the shortest possible time to begin to reverse the trend?
All right, thank you so much. I think I agree with you that there are quite a number of issues that need to be addressed, one of which, if you talk of infrastructure, for instance, Bauchi State is an agricultural state. And one of the major difficulties we have is for a lack of infrastructure in terms of roads to move agricultural products from the villages into towns and boost the economy, in that way. So the infrastructure we are looking at, people are more concerned about building government house rather than really providing what is required to stimulate the economy. Agricultural sector is one sector that can bring, if it's really handled properly, it can add a lot of value to the economic well-being of the people of Bauchi State. I was there just last week. I was somewhere around Jama'are area, and I saw the vastness of the land and the water that is available, that if it's really used properly, I think we will have a lot of improvement in terms of the economy of the state. Besides, we are endowed with more than 100 solid mineral resources in Bauchi State, but not much is happening in terms of, exploring these resources and making sure that they are utilized for the benefit of the people of the state. Recently, oil was discovered in Alkaleri State, but the question is how many people have been trained to really be positioned to be able to participate in that. These are all fundamental lapses that we have noticed, and I think if we get into government, and by the special grace of God we'll do that, we will immediately go to work and try to see how we can address the issue of poverty, deprivation, disease, lack of access to medical facilities, and of course, fundamentally also the issue of education. Like I said, net attendance in Bauchi State is only 29.9%, while the national average is about 67 or 68.7%. So these are the issues, and I believe as soon as we get there, all we need is to see how we can re-engineer the entire process and come up with a system that is responsive to the basic needs of the people and to get the people to really be involved. If you look at the youth population, huge population, but unfortunately there's no structure that is in place to empower these youths, to give them what they require in terms of skills to be able to stand on their own, to be able to generate resources on their own, and to support their families, and then to support others. So this is another area that we believe that when we get there, we have a very comprehensive manifesto which addresses all these issues, and we have details as to what we intend to do in order to be able to address these issues.
Well, it's good to hear that, but the question of how will always play up. One of the issues that a number of people have said, especially who have occupied the office of governor in different parts of the country, is the partnership with the federal government. And, there are those who would say, okay, so there's the conundrum of the Land Use Act being under the authority of the governor, but what is under that ground is under the authority of the federal government. An instance is that of the oil that's just been discovered in Bauchi State, among one or two other states in the north there. Now, the question here is, how wide is the gap, to the best of your understanding, in the collaboration between federal and state governments to develop the lives of the people? The partnership gap may widen a little more now with the exploration of oil that's beginning in Bauchi State. What would be your steps in reversing the gap between the federal and state governments collaborating to develop the lives of the people in Bauchi State?
I think my understanding of the partnership between the federal government and the state government, I do not see real issues in that. Because if you look at the solid mineral sector, yes, that's where the federal government has a very fundamental role to play if we are to really develop what is underground. But if you look at the agricultural sector, there's absolutely no reason one local government in Bauchi State can feed the entire Northeast. If we really approach this thing professionally and do it with all sincerity. And that is where the problem is. It's not just, even in the partnership we are talking about, there are quite a number of programs of the federal government that are impacting positively on the people of the state. And I do not see any issue there, except that, of course, the current PDP government has not really cooperated in so many areas in order to ensure that the people are able to benefit from some of these programs. They have politicized some of these programs. And besides also, you talk of resources. Yes, it's true, there are quite a number of challenges. But I think if we are transparent enough, if we operate in a very accountable system, even with the resources that is coming from the federal government, we should be able to move the state to a much higher level than where it is currently. So the issue of solid minerals, yes, I believe there will be need for real partnership with the federal government so that, you know, we are able to really take full advantage of what we are endowed with in terms of solid minerals. But there are so many other areas. Tourism is another area that I believe if the state had done well, would have generated a lot of money. Yankari Game Reserve is there, but they have more or less sold it out to people. So these are the issues. What I believe is important for us is to understand what the problems are and then to try to see how we can work with others to provide solutions on how to resolve some of these issues.
Yes, I hope you'll be seeing the need for cooperation in the area that I'm going to be exploring with you. Good morning, Air Marshal Abubakar. I'm also interested in development, but specifically in the area of security. We saw how insurgency dovetailed into banditry and moved further to the northwest, specifically Kaduna and Zamfara. Even though Bauchi and neighboring Gombe seem to be, you know, removed from insurgency, but it's still described, at least one of the two states is still described as fragile in terms of security. I wonder if you're seeing a sense of regional cooperation amongst governors in the Northeast, and if you will be exploring that if indeed you're elected, because they say that, you know, an assault against one is an assault against all. So do you see that partnership in the area of security amongst governors in the North?
I think that's a very interesting question. Partnerships are very, very important. And the regional partnership, or regional cooperation, like you suggested, is one area that I think we can work together with other states in order to see how we can take full advantage of the competencies of each of the states that are located there. Security, generally in Bauchi State, I think we are lucky to a large extent compared to other states. But again, there is a relationship, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this program, that there is a relationship between security and development. For people to really participate and support the government in ensuring that society is secured, they must have a stake in the process. If they find that they don't have a stake, and that is where, apart, in addition to the regional cooperation that you talked about, it is also important for those in leadership to really focus on those fundamentals. If people do not have stake in the process, they are not likely to cooperate, they are not likely to participate, and they can be mobilized for violence easily. But if they know that they have a stake, their children can go to school. If they are sick, they can go to hospital. If they have youths empowerment program and the youths can see that, you know, there are alternatives in their families. If the women are supported, you know, we have this palliative program. I have a foundation that, you know, provides support to women. We have given them palliatives quite a number of times, and we have also addressed people that are sick, and then have also supported children. Recently, I paid for for about 409 students. I paid their NECO simply because the state government could not just pay. So what does it take to really pay? So if you want to handle security issues, I have always insisted. Incidentally, I wrote a project at the National War College. My project was titled Nigeria's Internal Security Dilemma, a need for strategy change. And what I was advocating in that paper was for government to really focus not only on the physical dimension of security, which is buying tanks, aircraft, bullets, bombs, and so on, but to shift attention substantially to other dimensions of security, the political dimension of security, which has to do with a credible political process where people can see that their wishes, what they want is what is coming out. You have the economic dimension of security, you have the social dimensions of security. These are areas that we must keep a very close watch at if we are to really have a secure society. So I agree with you, the issue of regional cooperation is going to be very interesting and is going to be very helpful. But in addition to that, as leaders, we must really look at the issues of education, we must look at the issues of health, we must look at the issues of empowerment of youths. That's the only way that these people, I mean, people will feel they are part of the process, and they will work hard to ensure that we have a very secure society.
Well, your campaign, or your, will I say, your bid to your ambition is not going to be done in a silo. Currently, right now, for a number of Nigerians, it's been a period of hardship in terms of the fuel scarcity across the country, and then, very strangely, the Naira scarcity. How do you intend to convince people that the party on whose platform you're standing really means well for them, and that, you know, given what it has done centrally, that it can do better, if it can, in Bauchi State?
I think the issue of fuel scarcity and all that are issues that are handled at the federal level. I understand, I agree with you that I'm not going to operate as an island. Whatever is happening everywhere has a way of affecting what we are going to do. But I believe that the APC administration that is going to come in under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will add a lot of value to what is currently on ground. Looking at the pedigree of the presidential candidate, having served in Lagos, and haven't seen how he has transformed Lagos. Everybody, there is general consensus that he has done extremely well in Lagos, no matter what. So we believe that, and similarly, the vice presidential candidate, Shatima, was in Borno State. I had opportunity to meet him quite a number of times, and I've seen him working, adding a lot of value to his people. So I believe this team will add value to what is on ground. By the time they get there, they will begin to address some of these issues. They will add to whatever President Muhammadu Buhari has been able to do in the last 7 or 8 years. And I believe that Nigerians need to have confidence in the party APC. I believe with the people that are coming in there, they will certainly add a lot of value.
You're talking about people that are coming in. We're talking about the people that are currently there, because if a party is going to be campaigning, I mean, interestingly, we do not recognize independent candidates. It's still what a party has done. What it says it will do in its manifesto. Yeah. That's how people vote. Well, sometimes they look at the individuals, but oftentimes they go with the party. So if right now they're saying, oh, we're experiencing, this is the level of hardship we're experiencing under this party, what is the guarantee that they'll be looking at your party? In Bauchi State in particular? But
I know that also Nigerians are aware that this federal government, the APC government, has done a lot. It's not just about fuel scarcity. I mean, in the last 8 years, is that all that we have seen? In the agricultural sector, so much has been done. In development of infrastructure, so much has been done. The rail system, you know, in the military, where I just left, the Air Force, for instance, we have procured about 23 fighter, we have procured about 23 procured and inducted 23 aircraft in the Nigerian Air Force.
How has it impacted their lives in terms of security?
Of course it has. Prior to 2015, bombs were exploding everywhere in Abuja. There were 2 explosions in Yanya. There was an explosion in the police headquarters. There was an explosion in the United Nations headquarters or somewhere.
Those were in the beginning days of insurgency.
But remember, what I'm saying is that we should not just close our eyes to all the positive sides of the APC government. The APC government has done substantially well in dealing with some of these issues. Yes, some other issues have come up, such as banditry, which were not there at the beginning, but there were over 22 local governments that were under the control of insurgents. In Goza, the Emir's palace was the headquarters of the caliphate. But today the Emir is in his palace. So I know there are challenges. I'm not trying to close my eyes to those challenges. But we must, as you look at the negative sides or some of the setbacks that this government has faced, we must look at the positive sides as well.
All right, we're winding down now. Just quickly, I mean, when you were speaking earlier, you spoke about the mineral resources and things like that, but how do you plan to leverage on them, because they're still under the exclusive list?
Yes, I agree. All that we need to do is to talk to the federal government. One of your guys just talked about the collaboration between state and federal government. And that is what is required to really tap into all this. Like I said, we have over 100 mineral resources. Okay. It's not just oil and gas.
Yeah, but do you have the support of former governor, Mohammed Abubakar? Because I understand you called for a meeting, a dinner. He didn't show up. Instead, he endorsed the current governor, Bala Mohammed. What's going on?
No, I don't think he endorsed him. Yes.
What happened?
There were some issues, and I understand my senior brother, Emi, is somebody that is really supportive of what we are doing. We were together with him during the flag-off ceremony of Asiwaju in Bauchi. He has even prepared an office which is donating to the APC. So, you know, there were a bit of issues here and there, but sometimes in human relationship, yes, you should expect that it's not every time that things will work out well the way you want them to work out. But I can tell you that he didn't endorse Bala Mohammed.
Okay. All right, there you go. We thank you for coming on. Former Air Vice Marshal Sadique Abubakar, former Air Marshal Sadique Abubakar, former Chief of Air Staff at the highest level, now seeking to be governor of Bauchi State under the APC. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, back in just a moment. Stay with us.